It's interesting though about surveillance and creating a fear of the consequences of engaging in protest through surveillance is that it's variable. Like, I remember in 2011, during February, March, where the government were really repressing a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they still are, but it was it was even more obvious then. People then, to me, were far more afraid of the consequences of engaging in dissent. So I had lots of people messaging me, for example, on Twitter saying, the MOI are on Twitter, be careful what you say. And the point about surveillance is not whether that's true, it's whether people think it's true. So I think at the time there was this kind of idea that the state's capability in terms of surveillance was pretty big. Regardless of whether it's not, whether it's true is irrelevant. And also because people were known to be being tortured, people were being killed, it's backing up those threats with credible evidence of state coercion. It's no good saying, oh yeah, you're being watched, but then if you don't actually punish anyone, people are like, okay, so what? So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. So for surveillance to be actually a kind of threat, you still need to back up those threats time to time with force. And that was probably its most acute.
But they did something here in Britain.
Yeah.
When they attacked Ali and Musa and Abbas.
Oh, in the, was that the dinner?
On the street while they came from Houston to our community center.
Yeah.
And they burn also, they get fire, the door of Dr. Saeed Allah's father.
Oh yeah.
House.
Yeah.
So
that kind of backs up the threat of surveillance, and it shows that people here. I mean, there was Bahraini students also in the UK who were studying, and some of them had their photos taken again and put on social media saying these are traitors, and some of them lost their scholarships. So I think people knew even here, like Bahrainis here, knew that they weren't safe. So they weren't outside the reach of the surveillance. Yeah. And that's the thing with surveillance, is it's not just limited to Bahrain. It was never just limited to Bahrain. It affected activism here as well.
Of course, we are feeling not safe anymore here.
Because of spying, do you think?
Not because of spying. Because what they do every time we come, we go abroad and come back. They interrogate us like we are a tourist. They just want to make pressure on us. You are watched, and all of the whatever you say, it is. We might give it to your.
Yeah. So you have this kind of fear that this information might be being given to the Bahraini person.
Definitely.
Because you don't trust the British.
Yeah, of course, definitely. We say definitely because we know.
Yeah.
We know it is democratic here and there is accountability, but there is something behind.
Of course. Yeah.
You don't know what's going on.
Do you think it affects how you behave though? Do you act differently knowing this?
Sometimes yes. Sometimes you have to be suspicious with the telephone. You don't talk much, and you don't talk freely like before. And even small things you can't say it. Even just you don't want them to hear something they might think that it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is why. And I say it many times when I'm talking with someone. Please don't talk in this. So it's better to meet up
face to
face. Yeah.
But that's interesting though, because everyone talks about technology facilitating revolution and stuff because it enables you to communicate. But if you don't trust the communications, people resort to the old-fashioned way of just talking face to face.
Yes.
I remember what was interesting in 2011 is receiving, like on Twitter or Facebook, receiving messages from people I didn't know, asking for information. And sooner or later, people just became less willing to talk to people they didn't know.
Yeah.
So you have this idea of trust between activists, and I think in any uprising, for them to be effective, you need trust between different activists. But I think the problem with surveillance, it kind of chips away at that trust, and because you're not always sure who you're dealing with. I remember I was investigating. You remember Lilian Khalil, the fake journalist?
Yeah.
That was quite interesting because when I was investigating her, I was investigating with this Bahraini lady who I never met before. We met on Twitter, and and she was great. But at the same time, during this whole investigation, because I was investigating someone who was obviously a fraud, I became to be suspicious of the person who's helping me. It was just an inevitable thing, and in the end, it turned out fine. I actually met her, and it was great. But that whole problem, I think, existed for a lot of people using communications. People become more suspicious, and people even defriended. And this is a Bahraini thing because so many people. It's such a small place. so many kind of overlapping friendships there. Like on Facebook, people began to defriend people who had different political opinions because they were worried that, you know, for example, they might be looking at their Facebook posts, or that they might, you know, be able to see, like, you know, someone got arrested, or someone got kicked out of Bahrain University because they liked a sort of an anti-regime post on Facebook. I remember this, and you know, that kind of thing, that level of sensitivity meant that, you know, you see kind of the eroding of existing relationships and reconfiguring relationships, and a decline in trust between different social groups.
Even
you know?
the students who come to study here, they don't want to meet up or to with many people. They just close relation with the student, nothing else.
It's true.
And which is
even I've like, because I'm in Durham now, so sometimes the past few years we've had some Bahraini students, and you know, some of them, they're like, you can tell that they want to figure out your politics before they want to become friends. Yeah, you know, they're trying to like figure you out. And it's, you can see it. It's obvious, but you know, it's sad as well. You know, it shouldn't be like this.
It's just sad. This is why. But we just telling people that do normal work what you do, and I mean, we are in a technology, but I mean era, but still they can't go inside you.
Yeah, exactly. Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
It's the next phase, I think.